Welcome everyone to today's online event, setting up a new SharePoint document management site in just 10 minutes. My name is Natalie and I'm the marketing manager here at Corporate Renaissance Group. As most of you know, CR Group is a member of the Microsoft Partner Network and we implement, configure, and support Microsoft Enterprise solutions like Dynamics GP, CRM, AX, and of course SharePoint and SharePoint Online. We know that secure and easy sharing and collaboration is essential to a modern workplace, so we're really looking forward to presenting this topic today and promise to make the most of the 30 minutes that you're spending with us. I'll just get the next slide, Matt. I think you might have to unpause.
Oh, yes.
And you'll meet Matt in a moment. Before we meet Matt, just a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and sent out after today's presentation, so definitely keep an eye out for that so you can rewatch it or share. And we also encourage you to ask questions, so please submit in the GoToWebinar panel and we will do our best to get to them at the end of today's presentation. Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce you to your presenter today, Matthew Foy. He's a .NET developer and one of CR Group's SharePoint and CRM gurus. Thank you so much, Matt. We're really looking forward to your presentation.
All right, thanks, Natalie. So I'm here to talk today about Office 365 and how you can collaborate with internal, external users really seamlessly using the newest version of Office 365. We'll cover a brief intro for those who aren't too familiar with what Office 365 is and what kind of features it can offer. And we'll demonstrate how you can very quickly set up a document library, which is a location for storing documents in the cloud, for instant collaboration with other users. And then we'll take any questions people might have about what Office 365 can offer for you. All right, so Office 365 is essentially a comprehensive cloud productivity suite that Microsoft offers. It includes products that you're all fairly familiar with, such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but also a lot of new products and things like SharePoint Online, which is a collaboration platform, Dynamics CRM, which is a sales and marketing automation system, and many others. The main selling point is that it lives in the cloud and it's all in the browser, although there are also desktop applications. Office 365 notably is subscription-based as opposed to the normal Office suite, which is you buy it once and then you have that, but it won't upgrade. With Office 365, all the new versions you'll automatically get, so you always have the latest version of the technology. So let's get started. If I exit this, you'll see this presentation is actually living in SharePoint Online right now. So if we go back to the site, you'll see I added it in this document library. So this is kind of what you would expect to see with Office 365. This top navigation bar is kind of your touchstone for getting around. In the top left, you have the Apps menu. So this shows you all the different things you have. For example, Outlook, your calendar, CRM, SharePoint, OneDrive, which is similar to Dropbox for cloud storage. You can also access the typical Microsoft Office suite of applications here online in your browser. So for example, with the kind of collaboration power that SharePoint Online offers, you can see that this is what a normal SharePoint team site looks like. So some of the things that we have here is the news feed where people on the team site can discuss things. Documents library. This gets created with every team site, so you have a place to put documents. And one of the neat things that you can do with Office Online is actually directly embed documents in pages. One of the things that's new in 2016 is this revamped document library experience. So those of you who are familiar with older editions of SharePoint will notice that this has a much nicer user interface. It's very simple to get started creating and collaborating on content. For example, I can just create a new Word document and it opens right in the browser with no external applications needed. And I can start editing a document. And what's really cool is that if we go back, You can see this is the document. We'll just rename it. And now this is the view for the Word Online. So this is not in edit mode, so you can quickly see it. And then in the top right, you have sharing, printing, editing capabilities. For editing, you can launch this document in the desktop application of Word, if that's preferable. The desktop application has more functionality than the online version, but editing it in your browser is very quick and convenient. Also, there's full co-authoring. So for example, after we've created this document, Veronica could come in and start editing text while we're also editing the document. So you can see Veronica has joined and has started pasting in text. Another neat thing about this is that right in the document pane, there's actually instant messaging, so that while we're both working on this document together, we can talk about the document without, editing the document to talk, right? So here Veronica could, to say something or ask a question so that while we're working on the document together, we're not confusing the content with the meta content. One thing worth noting is that this chat won't be saved when we close this, so it's more for quick questions. Additionally, you can use, of course, the built-in Word features for, review and anything else that you need. So one thing that people often want to do is collaborate with people who aren't necessarily in their organization. So one of the ways you can accomplish this is if we go back to the site. SharePoint Online makes this very easy. So for example, this is a team site, and one thing that we can do with SharePoint is set up subsites. So if I go to Site Contents, I can add a new subsite, and we'll make another team site specifically. Let's say we wanted to collaborate with an external advertising agency or design firm to create some, imagery for our project. And we just say, so we'll just create a team site. Very quickly, we can say, we want it to be in the navigation. We'll use the same navigation as the parent. And just like that, we'll have a new area or a new section of SharePoint Online to navigate with users. So this is what you will normally see when you create a site. If we don't need to add any more apps to it, then we can just remove this kind of get started thing. You'll see that we still have, our documents library, although there's nothing here yet. We also get a OneNote notebook. This can also be useful for just, dumping in notes about the project or whatever you're collaborating on. And now sharing is dead simple. In the top right, you'll see share. So this is somewhat context sensitive because if we're in a document library and we have a document selected, we can share just a single document. So for example, going back up to the main site, if I wanted to share just this slide deck with someone, I can simply click share on this flyout menu. Also, you may notice that it's very nice. You can preview documents and even flip through the slides right in this pane thanks to Office Server. So sharing is extremely simple. You just enter the email of the person you want to share it with. So for example, if we wanted to add Veronica, although we already have, you can do it like so. If you want to share with an external user, it's just as simple as typing in their email and hitting share, which is extremely convenient. Some of you may have some experience with trying to set up Live ID integration in SharePoint on-premise, and while possible, it can be fairly inconvenient, and trying to refer to the user after that they've been invited can be trickier than necessary. With SharePoint Online, the integration is seamless. You just enter their email, you hit share, next thing you know, they have access, logging in with their Microsoft Live ID account. Similarly, you can share the entire site. So instead of sharing a specific document, you can share the whole site in the exact same way. So for example, going back to our subsite, if we wanted to share this with an external user, we can just click Share here, and we'd want to invite them as site members so that they can modify the site, like put in documents, and then it's as simple as that. You can start collaborating. So just some of the other features of Office 365 that really, I think, drives the power behind this is all the different integrations that are available. For example, you have Outlook just right in your browser. This is not new, of course, but all of the other SharePoint, CRM, SharePoint, Planner services will send you notifications right into your inbox. And anywhere on the site that you are, even if you're in SharePoint, you can get like new mail alerts right in the top here. So if you get a new email, you don't have to have Outlook open. It'll tell you. So one of the cool things is Planner. This is not strictly part of SharePoint Online, but it offers a sort of kind of task management solution. So for example, I've created a couple of projects here. Nothing too complex, but you can add tasks to a list, set due dates. You can assign it to different people in the organization, and then you can see a very high-level view of it. And one of the neat things that this does is every plan has its own SharePoint Online site that stores this notebook. So for every project we have, there's a SharePoint site created. So we could conceivably go use our Planner site to collaborate with the users in the site using the document library and other functionality. That's about it for creating collaboration capabilities with external users. You'll see it was dead simple, and clearly 10 minutes was an overestimation there. I think maybe a couple years ago, I wouldn't have necessarily recommended SharePoint Online, Office 365, but with the current version, this is extremely slick, very well integrated. One of the neat things that you can do as an administrator is, if I'm in a different browser now, logged in as the administrator, and you can see in the admin center you have a whole host of intelligence, reporting, and support features. So figuring out how to do different tasks in Office 365, there's helpful videos. You can create service requests, and you'll get support from real people very quickly. I had a small issue setting up the demo, and the support I got through this portal was prompt and very, very good. So if you worry that you're moving to the cloud, things are going to be confusing, don't. You're in good hands. Another thing that you can do from this portal is install the desktop application suite. So if you want to have Word or Excel on your desktop instead of just in the browser, you can install that from here. This gives you the whole host of Office applications. Additionally, you can get plugins, tools, add-ins for other products. For example, here's the Microsoft Dynamics CRM for Outlook add-in. This is good if you have CRM and you have the Outlook desktop application. This will make using and integrating CRM data into Outlook very nice. You can also get Skype for Business, which is the old Link, or the old version, which is just Link. There's also mobile applications, so for the Windows Phone, the iPhone, the iPads, etc. Another thing that's nice is that just using this, Office 365 in your browser works very nicely on your tablet. Although I can't really demonstrate it right now. I was playing with it earlier, and it's pretty nice. As you'll notice, all the buttons that you're seeing are, fairly sizable, so it easily translates to a touch interface, where you just kind of, tap the SharePoint icon, and then you have these different sites that you can follow. Another thing that's nice is the way following works. So if you have created a whole bunch of different sites and you're trying to manage them all, you don't need to try and bookmark everything. You can follow it, and then in this tab you'll have this convenient dashboard of sites, suggested sites in your organization or sites that you frequent. One thing that's cool is you can customize SharePoint fairly well. For example, this is the sample Contoso site. So you can see the different kind of things that you can do with a SharePoint Online site. It looks very slick. If we go to News, we'll see another example of a Word document being embedded directly in the page. So you can see here their quarterly release is just right in the browser. This is very convenient if you wanted to have a page that's talking about a document, and then the document is just right there. You don't need to click to download or open it in a new tab. It's just seamless. One other thing you can do is you can configure how SharePoint shares things. So if you don't want your users sharing with external users, you can go to the SharePoint admin portal, and this is fairly similar to, this is like the online version of Central Admin for SharePoint. You can manage your site collections, etc. And under sharing, you can see that there's ways to manage how things are shared. For example, you can prevent your users from sharing with people outside of your organization. You can even allow anonymous links so that you don't have to have your external users actually creating Microsoft Live ID accounts and kind of redeeming invitations through email. You can just create an anonymous link and share it with whoever you want, and you can set it to expire. So let's say I want to share that slide deck, but I want to share it with anyone who wants to see it. I can set the link to expire in a week or two so that I don't have to worry about security in the long run. So going back to here, you can see document libraries support a wide variety of content types. You have Word documents, Excel files, PowerPoints, pictures. Creating new documents, as I briefly demonstrated earlier, is very easy. All these options will just automatically open in the online version of the software. So if I create a new Excel workbook, we have a new Excel file through Excel Online. Similarly with PowerPoint, etc., you can upload existing documents so you don't have to create everything from scratch if you don't want to. Another thing that you can do is actually sync the document libraries to OneDrive. So if you have the Office suite installed and you have OneDrive, you can have that sync with these files. So you can essentially recreate a lot of this experience, but using not the browser, but your native desktop functionality. So you can see the files in your File Explorer. You can open them with your native desktop application. And that supports offline mode. So if you don't have internet because you're on a plane or a train and you don't have Wi-Fi, you can open documents that you have in OneDrive, edit them, and when you get back to internet connectivity, they'll automatically sync to the cloud. So you don't have to worry about trying to make these different changes that you may have made. It's very smooth. So some of the other cool things of Office 365 that's new in this version specifically is SharePoint Online has received a huge boost to its ability to integrate and kind of coexist with SharePoint on-premise. So this is a hybrid approach for SharePoint deployments, and although I don't have it configured, I can mention some of the key highlights. So if your on-premise users click the OneDrive link, you can have it so that that takes them to the cloud directly. So there's no confusion about an on-premise versus a cloud OneDrive, for example. You also have federated search. So when you're searching through the online SharePoint portal, you will get results from both environments. So if you have a large amount of content that's been shared in the cloud, and you also have a large amount of documents on-premise, you can search all of them from one location. So this is very powerful because if users are confused as to where things are coming from or search isn't giving them the results they hope for, it can be frustrating, and this removes a major pain point. OneDrive has improved as always. It's essentially just a cloud file storage. So you can upload personal documents that you don't necessarily want shared, although you can manage these very similarly to how you manage SharePoint documents. So even though you have these private documents in your OneDrive, you can share them with other users exactly the same way you can with SharePoint. And similarly, this is usually synced to your desktop. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, so thanks, Matt. Yeah, we have a couple questions that have rolled in over the presentation. I think I'll just ask randomly. Just to remind everyone, if you have any other questions, just submit them in the GoToWebinar panel, and we'll definitely do our best to get to them. Okay, so the first question, Matt, and this is a good one, is internet access required all the time?
Okay, yeah, I think I mentioned that briefly before, but just to reiterate, if you don't have internet access, you obviously can't use a lot of the online functionality, like you can't do co-authoring or instant messaging, but you can edit things in the desktop applications, and when you get back to internet connectivity, any changes you've made will sync with the cloud.
Okay, great, thanks. Another one here, can I access documents on my phone?
Yeah, so you can just use the browser directly in your mobile device, or there are Office 365 apps that would work.
Oh, good. So that works for phone or tablet then.
Yep.
Okay. This is one, and this is a little bit more technical. What if we already have a domain name? Do we have to use SharePoint.com?
No, so if you don't want to be using the company name .sharepoint.com and have your user IDs end in company.onmicrosoft.com, you can actually add your domain control through the admin center and have customized URLs.
Okay, that's good. One more here. What is the key difference between Office and Office 365?
So normal Office is just the desktop application suite. Office 365 is everything I've shown you today and a whole lot more. You get everything right in the browser in addition, depending on your subscription type, to the desktop application software and the other collaboration tools that are available through the cloud.
Great. And of course, if anyone has any other questions about those key differences, they can email us directly at crg@crgroup.com. Also, if you have any other questions coming out of today's event, we're happy to catch up with you, so you can call us or email. And I think Matt has a slide that he's going to put up in a moment with our contact information. So I think those are all the questions we received, Matt. If anyone else has anything, please submit. We're always hosting live webinars. I put the link in the chat panel for you, but you can visit crgroup.com/webinar to see a list of upcoming events. I believe that's it. Thank you so much, Matt. I think that was a great overview. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, if you have other questions, you're welcome to contact us directly. Visit our website for additional resources. Everyone have a great afternoon, and thank you again, Matt.
All right. Bye.